It is May 12th, 2017, a Friday morning, and hospital computers across the UK start going dark, one by one. Doctors are logged out of patient records, surgery schedules vanishes, MRI machines shut down, and a message appeared on every screen. Your files are being encrypted. Pay $300 in Bitcoin. In less than 24 hours, over 230,000 computers across 150 countries were infected. This isn't a movie. This is WannaCry, the most devastating ransomware attack the world had ever seen. And the craziest part, it was built with a weapon stolen from the United States government. But here is one thing nobody's talking about. It was stopped by just one guy, a 22-year-old security researcher sitting at home in his bedroom in the UK, who accidentally found the kill switch for just 1069. I mean, $10.69. Today, I am breaking down the full story, how the attack was built, how it spread, who was behind it, and what Marcus Hutchins did that day that nobody expected. Stay with me, because the lessons in this story are still relevant right now. Before we get into the story, let me set the stage so you understand exactly how bad this was. WannaCry was what was called a crypto worm, a type of ransomware that doesn't just sit on one machine. It actively hunts for other vulnerable devices on the same network and spreads itself automatically. People didn't need to click any link. No email was sent, no email was attached. It just finds you. It just finds you. The vulnerability they exploited was called EternalBlue, a hacking tool so powerful that the US National Security Agency, the NSA, had been secretly sitting on it for 5 years, using it for intelligence operations, never telling Microsoft it existed. Then it got stolen and everything changed. By the end of today's video, you understand exactly how EternalBlue worked, why WannaCry spread so fast, who built it, and most importantly, the three things that every organization should have done to survive this, and most actually didn't. To understand WannaCry, you have to go back to a group called the Shadow Brokers. In 2016, this mysterious hacking group appeared online claiming to have breached the NSA, specifically a secretive unit inside the NSA known as the Equation Group. And they were actually not bluffing. They started leaking NSA's own hacking tools, tradecraft, that took the most sophisticated intelligence agency in the world to develop. And in 2017, April to be precise, 1 month before WannaCry, they dropped what would become the most dangerous leak in the bunch, EternalBlue. EternalBlue exploited a critical flaw in Windows SMB's protocol. That's the server message block, SMB, which is basically how Windows computers talk to each other on a network, share files, share printers, that kind of thing. The flaw allowed an attacker to send a specially crafted packet to any Windows machine and get remote code execution, which basically means they could run whatever they want on your computer without ever touching it. No username, no password, nothing. Now, here's the thing. Microsoft had patched this vulnerability. In 2017, March of 2017, a whole month before Shadow Brokers leak, Microsoft pushed an update called the MS17010 that fixed EternalBlue. But here's the problem with the real world. Most organizations don't patch immediately. IT teams are stretched thin. Legacy systems can't be updated without breaking production. And some machines, like the hospital equipment running Windows XP, were so old that Microsoft had stopped supporting them entirely. So when WannaCry launched, it had a massive playground, millions and millions of unpatched Windows machines sitting on networks worldwide, just waiting. On the morning of May 12th, 2017, WannaCry began to spread. It didn't start with an email. There was no phishing link. It simply scans the internet for machines with port 445 open. That's the SMB port. And when it finds one, it fires EternalBlue at it. If the machine is unpatched, the exploit works. WannaCry installs itself. Then it does two things simultaneously. It begins to encrypt every file it can find on the machine and immediately starts scanning that machine's network for other vulnerable devices to infect. This was what made it a worm. Every victim becomes a new attacker. And within hours, the UK's National Health Service is devastated. 80 out of 336 NHS trusts were affected. Hospitals are diverting ambulances. Doctors are going back to paper. And one hospital trust alone loses access to 6,900 appointments In Spain, Telefonica, one of Europe's largest telecoms, is it. German rail company Deutsche Bahn sees infected ticket machines. FedEx, Nissan, Renault, universities. The list keeps growing, and every infected machine shows the same screen. A countdown clock: pay $300 in Bitcoin within 3 days, or the price doubles. Pay within 7 days, all your files are gone forever. This is where 90% of organizations fail. They focus on detecting attacks after they are inside, but WannaCry didn't need to be inside. It just exploited the network by itself. The perimeter that was supposed to protect these machines was exactly what it's used to get in. Now, this is where the story gets wild. Why WannaCry is tearing through networks worldwide? A 22-year-old security researcher in the UK named Hutchins is watching the chaos unfold. He goes by malware tech online and he decides to dig into a sample of the malware all by himself. He's doing what is called malware reverse engineering, pulling apart the code to understand what it does, and he finds something very strange. Before WannaCry does anything, before it encrypts a file, it sends a web request to a specific domain, a long random looking domain that clearly doesn't exist. Something like this. This is called a domain lookup. Marcus does not know why it is there yet, but his instinct tells him, check if this domain is registered. And it isn't. It is completely unregistered, available. Then he goes ahead, he registers it, and it cost him about $10.69. And within minutes, WannaCry stopped spreading. Here is what the domain actually was: a kill switch. The WannaCry developers had coded it in, possibly as an anti-analysis feature. The logic was, if this domain exists, the malware thinks it's running inside a security researcher's sandbox and it shuts itself down. If the domain doesn't exist, real world, it proceeds to infect and encrypt everything. By registering this domain, Marcus turned it into a live kill switch. Every new instance of WannaCry checked the domain, got a response, and stopped dead. The man accidentally saved an estimated $200 million in further damages for $10.69. So who built WannaCry? Because this wasn't just a random bored teenager in a basement. In 2017, the White House officially attributed the WannaCry attack to North Korea, specifically to a state-sponsored hacking group known as the Lazarus. Yes, the same Lazarus group that we all know. The Lazarus group is a North Korea cyber warfare unit responsible for the Sony Picture hack in 2014, the 81 million Bangladesh bank heist in 2016, and now WannaCry. They operate under North Korean intelligence, and the attack serves one or two purposes: disruption or money. WannaCry was interesting because it was a terrible ransomware attack from a financial perspective. The coding was sloppy, so victims who paid often got nothing back because the payment tracking system was broken, and the total ransom collected was only around $240,000, tiny for an attack of this scale, and which leads most analysts to believe that WannaCry wasn't just primarily about money, it was about disruption, a test, a signal. North Korea demonstrating it could cripple critical infrastructure globally using stolen American cyber weapons. Let that sink in. A nation state took a tool built by the United States intelligence community, repurposed it, and used it to shut down hospitals. The full attack part in one line: a leaked NSA weapon combined with a worm deployed by North Korea, stopped by a $10 domain registration. I tell you, cybersecurity is very wild. So, alright, let's talk about what you can actually do with this, because WannaCry wasn't some freak event. The exact same conditions that allowed it to spread still exist in some organizations today. Here are 5 things that could have stopped WannaCry code and protect you from the next WannaCry. First thing on my list is going to be to patch everything immediately, especially critical systems, Microsoft released a patch for EternalBlue in March 2017. WannaCry it in May. Organizations that had their systems patched were completely saved, but most did not. Most had not by the time the whole event happened. And patch management isn't glamorous, but it takes the single highest ROI security action you can take. Automate it where you can. 2. Disable SMB v1 if you don't need it. EternalBlue specifically targeted SMB v1, an ancient version of the protocol that most modern systems don't need. So if you're in IT, go and check it now. If SMB v1 is enabled anywhere on your network, just disable it. There's almost no reason it should be running. The third one is going to be to segment your network. WannaCry spread so fast because most network give it nowhere to be contained. Network segmentation means even if one machine gets it, the damage can't travel freely across the whole organization. Segment your critical systems. Put hospital equipment, payment systems, and sensitive data on isolated network zones. Number 4 is going to be to block port 445 at perimeter. Port 445 is the SMB port and should never be open to the public internet. If your firewall allows inboard connections on port 445 from external IPs, that is a critical misconfiguration. Just block it. WannaCry relied on being able to reach that port from outside. Number 5 is going to be to have an offline backup strategy. Ransomware wins when you have no choice but to pay. So if you have clean recent offline backup or backups that are not connected to your network and can't be encrypted, ransomware becomes an inconvenience instead of a catastrophe. The 3-2-1 rule, 3 copies, 2 different media types and 1 offsite. 3 copies, 2 different media types, 1 offsite. Now, WannaCry has stopped. The kill switch worked. But here is what kept security researchers up at night after May 2017. So apparently, the kill switch only stops new infection. Every machine that was already hit was still encrypted, still header stage, and the code was out there. Anyone could take WannaCry, remove the kill switch, and relaunch it, which is exactly what happened. And within months, a new variant appeared, NotPetya, a no-kill switch, and it made WannaCry look like a warm-up. Next episode, we're going to be diving deep on NotPetya, the attack that cost $10 billion in damage, the one that was disguised as a ransomware but wasn't a ransomware at all. It was far more dangerous. If you don't want to miss that, hit the subscribe button now and drop a comment. What is the scariest part of this story to you? Was it the NSA losing their own weapon, or North Korea weaponizing it, or was it the fact that a $10 domain registration saved millions of people? Let me know below. See you in the next one.